festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up. KBLA Talk 1580. Joining us now, Senior Vice President of the Hollywood Bureau of the NAACP. He's responsible for advancing NAACP Hollywood's projects, relationships, and overseeing the NAACP Image Award production. Kyle Bowser is my guest this hour. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to be speaking with you.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like you've worked at just about every level in Hollywood, right? You've been an executive, you've been on stage, you've been on screen, you've worked in film, TV, music, theater, radio, digital media.
So it sounds like I can't keep a job.
Well, or you got a lot of them. But, you know, it's a unique perch that you have.
as Senior VP of the Hollywood Bureau of the NAACP, right? And when it comes to what is understanding what is needed.
Yeah, sometimes in life you get into a situation that just feels right. And after spending so many years working in the industry, and as you said, in various capacities, at this stage of my life and my career, to be able to dedicate whatever it is that I've learned to an organization like the NAACP and the great work that it has always done, it just feels right to me. It really feels like I'm giving back, if you will, to our community that has given so much to the industry.
And you're being modest saying you can't keep a job. But the fact is, I mean, there are few people, especially black folks, that have worked in so many different facets. You've been in business affairs, right? Theater management,
Yeah.
you've done concert promotion, and you've been an executive, working everything from, narrative television to sports, network
Yeah.
TV to the HBOs of the world.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you know a thing or two about how we are portrayed and why we as black people are portrayed the way we are.
Yeah, I think what was becoming clear to me as I was transitioning from one opportunity to the next was that there was a through line. There was a common thread that I saw time and time again in each situation, and once again, availing myself of the NAACP's resources and the long-standing work that it has done in this area. What finally became apparent to me is actually the core purpose for why media exists in the first place. Most of us think it's for entertainment, or maybe even news and information, or to generate revenue. But at its core, the real purpose of media is to perpetuate a value system. And in most instances, the value system that's being propagated is that of a dominant culture. Now, that certainly is not the case with this radio station, because this radio station has a mission actually to push against that tide. But
and that's possible because of ownership, of course, you know that.
Exactly. But the predominant presence of media reflects the value systems of a dominant culture. And so as you look through the annals of time, and, media, by the way, media goes all the way back to hieroglyphics, right? Media is not just electronic images that you might see on a screen someplace, but any form of communication that transfers information from one to another has to go through a channel. And that channel is a form of media, no matter what it is. It could be a written letter. So media has always served that purpose, and that's how we should, I think, target our energies toward addressing the problems that we face, because it is so influential. It affects how the outside world sees us, and it more insidiously affects how we see ourselves.
I want to circle back to what you first said, though. You're saying the purpose is not to make money. The purpose is to perpetuate a value system. And, we've just come through this couple of strikes where it seems like the purpose is all about money. I mean, if we're in a capitalist system, shouldn't the end game be maximized profit, especially when you're in a sort of predatory capitalist phase that we seem to be in right now?
Well, the most numerous pieces on a chessboard are the pawns. So yes, we have labor disputes. We have people who sing and dance and entertain us. We have people who write and direct. And there are all kinds of people who are involved in the process, and each one of those sectors certainly has its primary objective, either to express themselves or to be remunerated for expressing themselves in a very compelling way. But if you peel back all the layers of the onion, and I'm not even suggesting that the owners of the platforms are a cabal, I'm just saying that media left to its own devices, is its purpose is to perpetuate a value system. And the dominant culture typically controls most of the voices that media allows access.
So, having seen kind of how we're portrayed from all of these different levels of the industry, which I think is really significant, because when you start to see a pattern emerging, and it's in the business level, the development space, the creative actor writer space, and I imagine that affirms this idea that you're talking about, that we're perpetuating a dominant culture which may not serve us.
Right. So what do we do about it?
Exactly.
The NAACP has been in the fight. I don't want to call it a fight, but has been focused on media and the influence specifically of Hollywood ever since 1915, when D.W. Griffith put out Birth of a Nation. And we protested that film and tried to have it banned from movie theaters. And we were unsuccessful with that, largely because the president, Woodrow Wilson, had it screened at the White House, first film ever screened there. That film precipitated an increase in the number of Ku Klux Klan members around the country. Even in the Midwest, everybody thinks that's a Southern phenomenon. But no, throughout the country, we saw their membership rolls swell as a result of that film. And then, of course, so did the number of lynchings. So we started to immediately see that there's a connection between how you portray us and how we're ultimately treated in society. And so since then, we've been focused on this subject and have had many campaigns since that have been successful. We had Amos and Andy taken off the air. We had Disney shut down Song of the South. We've been doing the Image Awards now for 55 shows. We have had this Hollywood Bureau for 20 years. So we've been very, very concerted in our efforts. But this media guide that we just released is the first time that we've really put forward sort of a roadmap for how we fix this problem.
Okay, and we're going to get into... go ahead. Go ahead. No, I just wanted to say I want to get into the specifics of that. How, what you're recommending, and how do you get people to pay attention to it and really even, use that guidance? We'll look at that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure, but why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, children are the future. Here, tobacco companies are committed to higher education, offering scholarships to students who submit essays about the benefits of vaping. The tobacco industry even sponsors summer camps for kids. Don't worry, the tobacco-sponsored programs have been linked to leaving your kids more interested in smoking. In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, the world's deadliest industry is your child's friend. See reality at undo.org.
Ask any former youth in foster care what they missed most while growing up, and they will most likely answer, someone to show me unconditional love. Now, isn't that something we all wished we could experience? Here in Los Angeles, up to 40% of homeless youth on our streets identify as LGBTQ+. The most prevalent reason for homelessness among this population is the rejection they've experienced from their own families. The LA County Department of Children and Family Services and Raise a Child are searching for safe, nurturing, and affirming foster parents within our community willing to stand up and serve all children and youth in foster care, especially LGBTQ youth. Learn the many benefits to becoming a foster parent. Attend a free Raise a Child virtual or in-person informational event to learn more. RSVP now at raiseachild.org. That's raiseachild.org. And thank you.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And I do appreciate you waking up with me. Kyle Bowser is my guest. He is the senior executive at the NAACP, senior vice president there at the Hollywood Bureau. The NAACP Image Awards are in his portfolio, but right now you're talking about guidance. Like, how do we make a difference? How do we get better portrayals of ourselves, Black people, on the screens, big and small? And you guys, after working since 1915, now have a guidebook. So let's talk about what's in it. What are we looking for? Focusing on what we want.
Well, first of all, it's a nearly 30-page document, so it's very comprehensive in its analysis. It reviews the history. It reviews the psychosocial consequences of what goes on in media. And it also calls our own community to task in suggesting that we have a role to play, that we have to be more discerning about what it is we expose ourselves to, and suggest that media literacy might be one of the solutions that helps us pull ourselves out of this situation as we become more literate and understanding of the power of media and the choices that we make with it. Hopefully, we can make a difference for ourselves. However, the climactic moment of this document is what we call the 6 imperatives for rendering Black lives in media. And as I describe them to you, they may sound simplistic just by their title, but when applied to the process of story development and story production and distribution and marketing, these 6 imperatives really become quite consequential. So the first one is, as I said already, we have to recognize media's role in perpetuating a social engineering scheme, that its real purpose is to perpetuate a value system. The second one is to consider the existence and validity of different points of view. Now, that may sound simplistic, but if you are noticing that there's a preponderance of programming that reflects one sort of worldview, and there's an absence of any alternative, then that might help to kind of get you to accept that there might be an engineering scheme in play. The third is acknowledge the history and subjugation that has produced a traumatized community in need of affirmation. Our circumstance didn't just happen. There were events throughout history that led us and left us where we are. And media needs to reflect that and be more dimensional in its depiction of our community. This next one, the fourth one, is critically important. Focus on the Black community's reliance on self-sustaining protective factors. There's so much information in media that talks about the ills of our society, particularly with respect to our community, and not as much attention is paid to those things that have sustained us, whether they come from some official infrastructure or just the way that we take care of ourselves. That needs to get more attention. Inclusion of authentic Black storytelling produces a healthy outcome for the community and for the world. So we're looking for more Black involvement in the development and the production and the marketing of the stories that reflect our community. And lastly, Black contributors to mainstream culture deserve an equitable stake in the exploitation of their contributions. So much cultural contribution comes from our community, these precious assets that ultimately get gobbled up into this cauldron called mainstream culture. And we don't tend to have an equitable stake in that. Like we have an equitable stake in our homes as we're paying for them over time. Our equity is accruing. well, where's the accrual interest that we should have in this mainstream culture? So those are the 6 imperatives that we think must be paid attention to and observed by the media as it's doing its business.
Mm. Well, okay, so, I mean, you're right. Some of it sounds real basic, but we see things not happening that meet these standards. But also, like, I don't even know if I'm just basing this on my own conversation, my own experience in the industry. I don't even know if executives and people that can give green lights and make these kinds of decisions even know what the heck any of this means.
You are absolutely right. You are 100% right. As you said at the very beginning, I've been doing this a long time. I can probably count on one hand the number of conversations that I've had with people in the industry about the social consequence of what we put on the air or what we put on the screen or the music that we put out. There's a whole lot of conversation about the creative value of these things and the economic value.
Right. Where will it sell? Will it have international legs and all that?
Right.
Convo
right.
that
people
is
are
used
attracted,
to keep us out.
People are attracted to this industry because they want to express themselves. They want to be paid handsomely for those expressions. And I don't begrudge that.
And they want to be rich and famous. Let's not forget that. The fame part.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. But these images and these messages are far more powerful than a gun, let's say, or a bomb, because what they do is they influence the mind. They influence perceptions and behaviors, and that filters its way into policy and lawmaking.
Yeah, I think that's right. But, I mean, first of all, recognize the role of media. Do you think that, how do you get someone to do that? Do you think that recognize the role of media in shaping society, not just society, but policies, which means laws? Right. Are you meeting with studio heads and going over these? Are you,
yes,
you might be accused of teaching critical race theory if you do that.
No, we actually have put together an advocacy group of executives across the industry, and I mean all the sectors, so film, television, music, publishing, video games, the agencies, the guilds, all of that, executives who meet on a biannual basis with us to talk about these kinds of issues and how they can take our perspective back to their respective employers and have internal conversations about how they can make those adjustments. And so far, the group that we've assembled has been very supportive and listened intently. Sometimes they push back. They don't always agree with our perspective on things, but that's okay. So, yes, we've had those conversations, as well as we're meeting with guild members, writers, actors. They have affinity committees within their guilds that represents all the stripes of the rainbow. And they, too, are very interested in knowing how we can improve the industry as a whole.
Mm. So it sounds like you feel like there is progress being made. This idea of considering different point of views, how do you teach that? How does that manifest? I mean, it seems to me you would need different eyeballs in the writer's room, just like we see with the SAG, I was talking about earlier with the SAG proposal, where now they're going to have actors have the ability to recommend people that can deal with their hair and makeup, and if the producer can't provide it, then they get to use their own and get reimbursed.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it's not related, but I think it is, because it means, how do you bring those different points of view? How do you bring those different eyeballs, that cultural competency into the room? How do you mandate that?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you would use that illustration, because we actually have a program. We've already passed through a cohort of students, if you call them that, who have gone through the hair and makeup training, because there's a different way you apply hair and makeup when you're under cameras and lights and
right.
all of that stuff. And so there's a special skill that you have to learn, and we've already had a program that helps people to understand how to do that. And now when the industry says, hey, we'd love to have those folks, but we can't find them, we have a list for them now, and we're going to keep that program going. But your larger question about how do you get people to at least accept that there's other points of view, the first thing we should all do, when we walk into a room and everyone in that room looks and sounds like us, we should ask the question, why is this? We should ask, why aren't there other points of view in this room? And I think in media, there's a purpose behind why some of those rooms look and sound the way they do. And they should be asking that questions of themselves. And so when I'm able to get my program on the air or on the screen, and there are other programs that look a lot or feel a lot like the stories that I'm telling, that suggests that there's a trend there. And there are other perspectives that are absent from the marketplace. Mm-hmm. We should be asking the question why.
But are we the ones that should be asking? I mean, it's the dominant group that has this problem, and how do you mandate? Only got a minute and a half here before news, traffic, and sports. But how do you mandate or put, it's like the Supreme Court and their little flimsy ethics code that they're putting forth. How do you put teeth in that, Kyle Bowser?
It's tough. You just chip away as best you can. The NAACP is doing its part with these guidelines and all the meetings that we do, and by putting forward the Image Awards and other things that hope to counterbalance what has been going on for centuries, but we just have to try. Yeah.
And I think providing the guidance is a start, but I'm just, I'm looking at it and you say, oh, well, it's not rocket science to see that there's one point of view here. It does seem to be getting a slightly bit better, partly because, in my opinion, like streamers are trying to expand who they reach. Right. So they have to have, how are we going to get, all of these East Indian subscribers? I know.
Right.
Indian weddings, which, is a show I really liked, or Indian matchmaking or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? That's that. But again, that's economics driving change. It is not ethics or equity, equality, justice. No. Well, we have to go, but we will continue after news, traffic, and sports. I know you got something strong when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday, November 14th. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Illinois, Chicago is getting a new health chief. Mayor Brandon Johnson has selected Dr. Olusimbo Ige to replace Dr. Allison Arwady, who was fired in August. Dr. Ige currently works as the managing director of programs at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in New York City. Dr. Ige, who is African American, begins her new job December 4th. More than 55 million Americans will travel 50 miles or more for Thanksgiving this year. That's according to a AAA projection. It's an increase of a little more than 2% from last year and the third highest forecast for the holiday since AAA began tracking it in 2000. Most will drive to their destinations. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Staples Holiday Deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Lakers are at home against Memphis. LeBron is questionable with a calf contusion in his left leg. He will likely be a game-time decision. The Clippers are in a tough place to try to snap their 5-game losing streak. They're in Denver to take on the defending champion Nuggets. The Clippers are 0-4 with James Harden. USC's women's basketball team has a bona fide superstar on their roster. Freshman guard Juju Watkins had a game-high 35 points Monday night in the Trojans' easy win over Lemoyne. Watkins has scored 83 points in her first 3 games. USC is one of 5 Pac-12 schools ranked in the top 10 of this week's AP Women's College Basketball poll. UCLA is 3rd, followed by number 4 Utah, number 5 Colorado, and number 6 Stanford. USC is 10th. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Helmed Entertainment presents Sweet Spot Live with Angelique Francis, host of KBLA's Living in the Sweet Spot, at the beautiful Miracle Theater, 226 South Market Street in Inglewood, Sunday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Join me, Tavis Smiley, and KBLA Talk 1580 for real short stories told live on stage by our own storytellers, straight from the neighborhood, celebrating our unique culture, our strengths, our courage, our faith, and of course, our fire. Come walk with us through the neighborhoods, sit at our kitchen tables, even run with us down our dark alleys if you dare. But just know that in the sweet spot, there is love and laughter, joy and pain, secrets never told. Again, that's Sweet Spot Live with Angelique Francis, Sunday, November 19th at the Miracle Theater, 226 South Market Street in Inglewood at 6 p.m. Tickets available at sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com. That's sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com. Sweet Spot Live, we've got a lot to talk about.
Meet LA's most affordable health plan. This open enrollment season, LA Care Covered is proud to offer the lowest cost health plans in Los Angeles County, featuring zero-cost preventive services to help you achieve your wellness goals. Be part of the region's largest HMO network, featuring UCLA Health, Optum, and allied physicians without breaking the bank. We are here to help. Call us at 855-222-4239 for enrollment assistance. That's 855-222-4239. LA Care Covered. Your wellness, our mission.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it. Together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Thinking about hosting a podcast and don't know where to start? Morris Media Studios has you covered. We're a professional podcast and voiceover studio located in Leimert Park. We specialize in recording and live streaming audio and video podcasts. Let us help you set up, record, and distribute your podcast. Hosting a podcast is a great way to bring awareness to your business, product, or good cause. For more info, visit morrismediastudios.com or give us a call at 323-815-4204.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Talking with Kyle Bowser, and we were just about to get into it. I was pointing out that what's driving change, in my opinion, right now, in the way Black people are portrayed, is economics versus ethics or morals, or even what's best creatively. Of course, Kyle Bowser, Senior Vice President of the Hollywood Bureau of the NAACP, but a longtime producer, executive and creative in the space. And you were about to say...
You are absolutely correct, and we are always correct. But we focus on the economics of circumstances because largely that is what drives particularly life in America. However, there is a factoid that I think is important, and I think it's very, very illustrative of our earlier discussion. The NAACP is not the only organization that's looking at this issue, obviously. McKinsey & Company, the reputable consulting organization, they did a report about 2 years ago and concluded that Hollywood leaves $10 billion on the table annually because of its refusal to fully embrace the power of Black storytelling and the audiences that crave it. Now, this is an industry that doesn't leave a dime on the table. Every nook and cranny is monetized in any way it's possible. So why would this industry, on an annual basis, forfeit $10 billion worth of revenue? And I think that is the evidence, that's the smoking gun that demonstrates that there's something else that's even more important than money. And that is preserving and perpetuating a value system that maintains a certain status quo, a certain social order, an environmental scheme, if you will. So that's what I wanted to say in response to what you asked earlier.
I mean, and just as Black Americans are always number one, terribly, on the, hate crime attack list, we're clearly denigrated, most consistently in Hollywood, but we're not the only ones. I mean, I look at the portrayal of indigenous Native American peoples, horrifying and also tiny. Arab Americans are pretty much non-existent, or, and when they are, they're stereotypes. So it can't just be our dollars that they're leaving on the table.
But the other part of that, what you just said, is if we were to really be accurate and authentic about our storytelling, those lines that divide the various communities would probably be erased. The relationship between the people we call Black and the people we call Arab, or the people we call Asian, or the people we call Latino, or so on and so forth, we would have a much more informed understanding of the kinship between those communities, as opposed to, each one of these is a different group of people with their own plight. I
mean, but they are. I mean, I understand what you're saying. If we have more understanding and more knowledge, we're going to interact in better ways. But the fact is, we do have different nationalities, ethnicities, cultures, and religions, and they do play a factor.
And our appreciation for those differences is primarily driven by media. That's my point.
What do you mean by our appreciation for the differences? I mean, it's still
that we cling to, and I'm as guilty as anybody, but that we cling to our individual membership affiliation and the history and the subjugation that goes along with that. That we cling to that is largely the result of media perpetuating a certain narrative.
I mean, I feel like we'd be celebrating our culture whether they had their narrative or not.
No, but I wonder if our culture would be defined more broadly.
Yeah, well, you could definitely make that argument. You could definitely make that argument. We only made it to your 2 out of your 6 crucial things. So maybe I need to speed up a little bit. Acknowledge the trauma and the history. You're talking about on the screen or off the screen. And some would say we're acknowledging the trauma too much. The people that say, I don't want to see another slave movie.
Right. And we're also denying that certain subjects are even worthy of school curriculum. So
True.
We have to at least find a baseline for what is truth, right? We had a president that once said there's alternative facts, and that might be the case.
It's not.
But, no, that is not the case, right?
Sorry,
but there are.
I'm not going there with you.
No, there is no alternative fact, but there are alternative truths, and because of media's core purpose, we are filtering out certain truths and allowing other truths to be dominant in the narrative.
So back to the question, so when you talk about acknowledging trauma and history, you're talking about on screen, or you're talking about executives and corporations acknowledging it as part of the process of making creative products?
So I think, I don't know if it's the chicken and the egg. I think if the people behind the scenes were to be more open to the truths that have been missing, then what you see on the screen would probably be more reflective of those truths. We've got to get people who are involved in the process to expand their consciousness and allow for alternative points of view to be seen and heard.
Focus on Black community self-reliance, on self-sustaining aspects of the Black community. Again, you're talking about the content that makes it to screens, big and small, and other forms of media, that somehow we would influence the content of that, the makeup of that creative material.
That we are still here is such a testament to our resiliency, right? And too often, what media wants to do is focus on the things that are detrimental.
Right, the victimization, the degradation, the poverty, the
right,
the losses.
But even in the absence of official infrastructure, let's say governmental support or whatever is supposed to undergird our community, even in the absence of that, we have figured out a way for ourselves to keep going and to fill those voids with our own version of infrastructure. When Mrs. Johnson came out of the house and told you, now you kids know you have no business doing that, and she had no relationship to those kids, that was ingrained in our culture.
You're talking about more projects focusing on church and focusing on
not necessarily church, but just the redemptive and positive energies that our community has always generated.
And again, I'm not sure how you mandate this, but like you said, you pointed out some people. You say inclusion of creatives, and that has been the main focus of a lot of critique of Hollywood. Not enough Black writers in the room, not enough executives, decision makers.
Right. There's quite a bit of research that demonstrates that, even get back to the economics, projects tend to be more successful when they are produced by diverse hands in the mix. So the more you include people as storytellers or marketers or executives who have alternative points of view, alternative lived experiences, the more those projects then resonate with a more diverse consumer base and make those projects more successful. But again, that mitigates against what we're saying the core purpose is, which is to perpetuate a different status quo. And so that's what the fight is.
When we come forward, I want to talk about, there's the final point of these six, and the role of things like the NAACP Image Awards, of which you are the director, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with Kate Luzio, former banking executive and now owner of Luminary, who partnered with Chase for this tour. She makes it her business to build community for business owners.
Yes, so I was a banker for 20 years before I decided to become an entrepreneur. 7 of those years were actually at JP Morgan Chase. One of the biggest things that I had going into my entrepreneurial journey was a big background in banking.
So what advice are you giving business owners looking for financial backing today?
So Chase brings in so much knowledge and the opportunity to understand what financial tools are out there for business owners to build, grow, and scale their business. A lot of business owners will say, well, I need to get a loan immediately. Well, you wouldn't just lend money to your friend if you didn't know why they needed it. I tell every business owner, you need a business plan, you need financial projections, you need a banker. Because you have to start building a relationship with a banker so that they get comfortable with how you're going to build that business and so that they can eventually support you in different ways.
Makes sense. So visit the Chase Community Center on Crenshaw and Vernon. Meet a banker today. Tell them about your business. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
Susan G. Komen. We believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
And we're talking with Kyle Bowser. He spent many years as an entertainment executive, writer, producer, pretty much every aspect of the business, but is now the Senior Vice President of the Hollywood Bureau of the NAACP, which includes the NAACP Image Awards production, overseeing that. Before we jump to that, though, you said point number 6, contributors deserve equity. It sounds like a 118-day strike we just spent talking about that. And certainly the conversation about AI levels that up. But how do you, other than joining a union and going on strike, how do you ensure that?
Well, first of all, let me define contributors in this context. So if you rounded up all the black folks that work in the Hollywood system, I'm talking, actors, writers, camera people, makeup artists, executives, on and on and on. I don't know how many people that would be, tens of thousands, I guess. They are mere proxies on behalf of the 42 million of us who are actually the generators of culture, okay? So when we use the word contributors in this context, we're talking about the masses of black folk who every day generate cultural assets that are then extracted and monetized by some other folk. And the question is, what's the give back? What equity interest does the community have in this exploitation of its culture? You talked about my previous work experiences. I was at Fox in the early 90s when this new wave of quote-unquote urban entertainment started to take shape. And the network was largely built on the popularity of this new form of entertainment, if you will. Folk were just infatuated with what was coming out of our community. They hadn't seen this before, and they embraced it. And we've gotten to the place now where our culture is on the screen even when we're not in the frame. Yeah. So we have to be very mindful of this extraction process, and we have to put up safeguards.
I mean, you're talking about monetizing cultural appropriation, which sounds great, but how do you even do that?
And you know what? Let me make this distinction. I don't know that it always comes down to a monetary equity stake.
Okay.
Equity can come in different forms. Let's look at the film Black Panther. All of us were walking around with our chest poked out for about 6 months, with a cross across. We take our arms and cross our chest because we were just so welled up with pride because of what we had seen in that film, the description of this utopian black space that hadn't been infiltrated. It was pristine. That's a form of equity. Now, Disney made a ton of money, and Ryan Coogler and others, God bless them, they made a ton of money, and they should have. But they left something on the table, at least in the form of pride. So we've got to look for ways to compensate for the extraction of these cultural assets.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's true. We've seen it in TikTok where, it's the dance move. So I feel you. There's lots of different ways to get equity, but I think money and community investment is a really important way for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've got programs at the NAACP that are designed specifically for that.
And,
but you wanted to talk about the Image Awards as
yeah,
well,
the Image
right?
Awards. I mean, what role does something like the Image Awards play? And certainly the Image Awards do nominate things that are not necessarily burnishing the image of Black folks or, hitting all 6 of these or even 1 or 2 of these things. At the same time, it's a place where we can get recognized and where we can, exist. So how do you see the role?
Here's the important thing I think to think about when you look at the Image Awards. It is not a Black award show, right? It is not an award show that is exclusively for Black folks or for people of color.
Even though that's in the title NAACP.
Yeah. But what it is, like any other award show, it is a recognition of excellence in arts as seen through the lens of this particular cohort. So if you watch the Academy Awards, the Oscars, or if you watch the Emmys or the Tonys or the Grammys or any other, what you're seeing is a recognition of artistic excellence as seen through the lens of that particular cohort. And so that's what the Image Awards is. And what happens is people make submissions in hopes that what they have put on film or on wax resonates with those who are judging our awards.
All right, we're talking with Kyle Bowser. When we come forward, we are going to get calls to action. I know you can join the NAACP. Maybe we can be part of changing, improving the portrayals of Black folks on screens big and small, and even on microphones big and small. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
This week at Target, you'll find different early Black Friday deals. Get fun deals on the latest tech, toys, and video games, plus smart deals on small appliances, floor care, and so much more. At Target, you'll discover different early Black Friday deals each week. And get what you need for the holidays fast with free drive-up or score free shipping when you spend $35 or use your red card at Target.com. Get low prices and early Black Friday deals only at Target. Exclusions apply.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the Evan-On, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Ask any former youth in foster care what they missed most while growing up, and they will most likely answer, someone to show me unconditional love. Now, isn't that something we all wished we could experience? Here in Los Angeles, up to 40% of homeless youth on our streets identify as LGBTQ+. The most prevalent reason for homelessness among this population is the rejection they've experienced from their own families. The LA County Department of Children and Family Services and Raise a Child are searching for safe, nurturing, and affirming foster parents within our community willing to stand up and serve all children and youth in foster care, especially LGBTQ youth. Learn the many benefits to becoming a foster parent. Attend a free Raise a Child virtual or in-person informational event to learn more. RSVP now at raiseachild.org. That's raiseachild.org. And thank you.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
Kyle Bowser is my guest this hour, and I thank you for spending the hour with us. He's Senior Vice President of the Hollywood Bureau of the NAACP. What are our calls to action as the KBLA delegation? We got a lot of change makers and people that want to make moves to make things better. What should we be focused on?
The only thing you have to do is contact us at naacp.org, and we have people available who will help you with anything that you want to do, any contribution you want to make. If you want to roll up your sleeves and get busy with us, we would love to have you join our efforts.
So people can join the organization, they could volunteer, and
they can share an opinion.
Ah, okay.
They can share an opinion that we perhaps haven't considered.
right? Back to getting those different points of view in the room. And then as far as these, this handbook, these guidelines for how to portray, how to handle Black folks on screens, big and small, how can we help disseminate this? How can we access the information ourselves?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on today. This helps. This helps to spread the word. But again, if you go to NAACP.org, you can find this document. And I would invite everyone to peruse it for themselves. We don't mind going back into the document and making some changes. So if you find something that you disagree with or you want to add to, and you provide that information to us, we'll take a look at it and consider finding a way to have it inserted into the document. So NAACP.org.
It's all back to the website, NAACP.org. We got another 60 seconds here. Kyle Bowser, what would you leave us with?
Again, thank you, Tavis, for even creating this forum for us to have these kinds of conversations. Our job here in the Hollywood space really is just the other side of a coin that has to do with policy making, law making. If we can shape hearts and minds and influence perceptions and behaviors, that will filter itself into the way our society is governed, and hopefully make life better for all of us. And as we know, these images are not just contained here domestically, they travel globally, and we really have to look at it from a global perspective in terms of how we go about fixing this problem.
Kyle Bowser, thanks so much for joining me. NAACP.org. While you're visiting websites, stop by KBLA 1580. You know, the quote is back. I told you the quote is back. Today I'm leaving you with my favorite Maya Angelou quote. She says, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got a stellar week on tap with some big names coming through around here, so you don't want to miss that. Please talk to me on all the social media, KBLA 1580, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, streaming on YouTube, and find me at DiPrima Radio, DIPRIMA, and then radio. And please like, subscribe, and comment while you're there. History's now, and we are making it together. I'm Dominique DiPrima. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.